Okay, ladies and gents, I think we're ready. So tonight we have got our three-way battle with Rochdale, who are come to visit us there. Isle of Man, who are obviously not here. Big distance, I suppose. And IoMPS. So it's 20 images from each club. And we have got our judge, who is Ray, and he will, I'll introduce him again in a moment. I just want to do some housekeeping. Okay, what we have is toilets. They're just through there. Ladies is first on the left, gents is down at the end of the corridor and to the right.
Where's mixed gender?
Downstairs, turn to the left. Mobile phones, can you please make sure that you've got your mobile phone switched off or on silent? There will be tea and coffee at break. You can bring your drinks up from downstairs, as you know. Just make sure you take your glasses back down with you. We will start any minute. There will probably be an actual break around about 8:15 to 8:30, depending on how we're doing. And I'll sort of give a prompt to, and we'll decide what time we want that break to be. You might not always agree with the judge's comments. You might not always agree with the judge's score. Keep your mouth shut while we're judging, and then have your discussions at break. Okay?
Does everybody know that the sound is being recorded?
Just backwards that. So yes, we are recording this for the Isle of Man. We send the recording over to them and they have it as one of their evenings later on in the year. So whatever the result tonight, please don't publish it so that Isle of Man don't know until they play it on the evening. Okay? The scores are out of 20 for each image. It's just a straight score. There will be some comments made around the image. At the end of the judging, if we could have a judge's choice image, doesn't have to be the highest score, say judge's choice, that would be nice. Okay, so we have Mr. Ray Bramall, who's got a lot of initials, ARPS, EFAT,
He's not fat. I think that's cruel. Why do you think that's cruel?
Cruel, that Mike, definitely, yes.
DPAGB, APAGB, BP, star. So, a lot of initials there, a lot of work going into getting those initials. It's a long-standing member of Doncaster Camera Club and Gamma Photo Forum. The past president and life vice president of the Yorkshire Photographic Union, and his photography covers landscape, sport, portraits, and anything else that he can catch in his camera. Right.
Thank you.
We want to welcome Ray.
Thank you. Good evening. As a past president of the YPU, to be in Lancashire twice, I was in Bury last week talking, they let me back to Oldham, so I'm doing all right. A bit awkward tonight for two reasons. Firstly, I started with a rotten chesty cough about 48 hours ago. So I've got cough sweets and cough medicine, and Mike might be editing out some coughs during the commentary, but I'll do my best to try and not make it too bad for you. So what we got, well, first of all, we've got the Isle of Man. I've never been to the Isle of Man, so if they don't do well, I probably won't be invited there. Rochdale, I've never quite worked out where Rochdale is, you know, because it says it's in Greater Manchester, but I thought part of it actually used to be in West Yorkshire. In fact, at one time, Rochdale were a YPU club. So if they've got a foot in the YPU and I'm a past president of it, well, perhaps I ought to favour Rochdale. Then there's Oldham. I'm going to say about Oldham. My wife's aunt worked for Asia Mill for years when it was there, and lived and worked in Oldham for donkey's years. So I suppose I just better be impartial, hadn't I, really, and just do my level best and make sure that I make some sensible comments and give some sensible scores. Whenever you're doing a competition, I don't know how you feel, we have discussions in the YPU about judges and how you should mark. And one of the big criticisms is that judges don't mark over a wide enough range. Do you get that in the LNCPU as well? And I hate judges that start at 16 and go to 20 and that's it. In my own defence, I'm going to say tonight that when you get a competition like this, where clubs have picked probably 20 of their best images, sometimes it's actually not fair to go very low because its work doesn't deserve a low mark, shall we say. So I'll see how I go, and I'll try and spread the marks out. But I'm told I can give more than 120 as well if we get lots of really good images. Fantastic. Okay, that's great. Then. Thanks.
all yours.
Okay. Well, from the run through, you don't need me to tell you we've got some terrific images here tonight. So to get the top marks, it's going to have to be pretty good. And here we've got the two starlings, a typical starling squabble. We see it outside our window most days when they're fighting over the fat balls. And the lighting on this is lovely. It gives the wonderful detail on the starling, which sometimes people think it's just a very dark, uninteresting bird, but you can see from this that's far from the truth. There's a sharpness about it I like. It's captured the action beautifully, and that's the first one I'm going to hold back, please. I've thought that many times about doing a chess picture because I see so many which I think are very strong. The thing about this one, of course, is the fact that we've got the young girl with her chin low to the chessboard. Therefore, we've got this intensity looking at her eyes. They're really engaging with you. And from that point of view, that's the strongest part of the image. I'm not sure I would have had the chessboard arranged so the two white ones are right in the foreground, giving us that bright highlights. The real thing for me, unfortunately, is the hand. I think once you've got such a limited depth of field as we have here, then you're bound to have her right hand on the chess piece, which is very bright and obviously out of focus. And that becomes one of the lightest part of the picture. Therefore, you do tend, I'm afraid, to really look at that and look at that. So that one, for me, hasn't worked as well as a lot of the others, and I'm scoring that at 14. This one again.
Is it rather pretty Eurasian duck?
It's not an Eurasian. No. It's the eye contact. So we have had eye contact in the previous one. And again, we've got the same idea here with this very attractive young lady with lovely hair. There's again that intensity, that communication between her and the photographer, which comes over well, and a good neutral background. I am slightly concerned about the lighting. Obviously, it's very bright with the main light coming in from that right-hand side and then the fill-in from this left. But there is really an imbalance there, with quite a bit of shadow on that left-hand side and bright highlights around the chin on the right-hand side also. So for me, the lighting of that is not balanced well enough for it to score more than 15. Yeah, I like these pictures. They all remind me of stuff that Lee Preston used to do years ago, with the cobble streets, and when they're wet, you've got this this lovely idea there. And I love this. I love this guy with the bag, especially the pink one. It's one of those pictures where, in a perfect world, which sadly we don't live in, the picture would work well with nobody else in it, because you've got such a strong picture with him with those bright coloured shoppers that as you then go onto the street, then the person sat down there and the other one walking, you almost don't need them. You're hoping just to get the one figure in the frame. I'm not sure whether I would actually include the top as well, because once you start getting to where the gable ends of those roofs are at the top into the sky, then you've got a bright highlight at the edge of the frame, which for me, I don't really think you need. I think you could almost letterbox this and get a better result. But I still think that it's got a lot going for it. I'm going to give that one 16. Yeah, I like the grab shot of this chap here. What a wonderful character. I would have had to be paid to wear a hat like that because I'd get talked about in Doncaster. Well, I would be, yes. Probably still am, Mark, yes. Reading his copy of Le Monde. And It's just it's a piece of street photography which I quite like. From this angle, unfortunately, we have to include they look like the tables and chairs inside the cafe, and almost the picture for me is the water bottle, the paper, and the man. And then I start to look at the bright highlights and the stuff in the background, which just drags my eye away from it fights with that main subject. Having said that, I do like a monochrome conversion has been done very well, and that's another 16. The detail on this is absolutely fabulous. I mean, we know that they're not a large creature, and yet every bit of detail in the wings of that lace wing are beautifully photographed. The detail is there, the background is as you would wish, with the complementary colour, if you like, but just a little bit of tone in it, but nothing that intrudes into the picture. A good diagonal composition, and I'm going to hold that one back also, please. This one I find the lighting on the face a little bit more sympathetic than on the previous one, where we do have an evenness about the lighting. I don't know about you, I really struggle with hands in portraits. I never know what I ought to tell the model to do with them, and I always found the ones that work best are the ones without the hands, because we've got something like a sort of a woolen sort of cape over one shoulder, and then the hand on the other side, and whereas I mentioned the lighting being more even on this, it's almost even enough to make it just a little bit flat. So it's a question of maybe it just needs lifting that a little bit more. 15. Yeah, these things are seen a lot out at the moment with the Harvey's mouse, and one always presumes that it's a set-up shot, but of course you have to be careful because it just may not be. But I like the way that the branch almost dips into the water, and then we've got the detail on the little Harvey's mouse with the tail curled round there. I'm not sure I'd have needed all that particular water on that left-hand side. I think it almost could be cropped into a square format, and I think it might work even stronger. I just think there's a lot of it going out towards each end of the frame. But the quality is good, and I'm going to give it 16. The kayakers, I think, are so really well placed in this picture. If they were further into the frame, then they would get confused with the island, and I think this idea here I think has worked well. And just behind the kayakers, then we've got those out of focus trees. So it's a picture with absolutely bags and bags of atmosphere. And the one thing about the lighting I like, it's been controlled, is we have the bright highlight of the sun in the picture, but it is not that huge burnt out bright highlight. It is controlled well, and I'd sort of compliment the photographer for that. The silhouette of the tree I think is lovely. I think that's a very atmospheric picture, and I'm going to score that one at 17. Obviously I don't know whose pictures are whose, however Laxey Storm tends to give me a bit of a clue on this one. So so for the benefit of the recording, I suspect it could be the Isle of Man. Anyway, it's a picture which has got a lot going for it. It really is one of these storms that really it just has got so much violence, if you like, to it. The way that those waves are whipping over that wall, and the green in the sea is quite vibrant. The sky is very soft and obviously doesn't fight with the real power in the picture, which is the foreground. So I think it's a picture that's captured the elements really, really well. I'll have another look at that one just for the time being. Doesn't mean it's going to get a higher mark, it just means I'd like to think about it a bit more. Over the years we've seen a lot of these, haven't we, especially from France, where the white horses are galloping towards the camera. I tend to see them more in colour than I have in monochrome, but the monochrome conversion's been well done. I like the way the sky's been handled. There's a lot of power and drama within the sky, and to say we're photographing white horses, we've avoided any problem with highlights losing detail in the horses. It's all there, coming splashing towards the camera. We've just got one of the chaps on horseback there, obviously driving the horses towards the photographers. 17. It's a picture which obviously uses the dynamism, if you like, of this low angle shot looking up at, I've never been to the Golden Gate Bridge, but I'm presuming this is what it is, but I may be wrong, but it's a bridge of that type, isn't it? A suspension bridge of that type. The only thing I can say with certainty, it's not the Humber Bridge. I've been over that an awful lot and it doesn't look anything like that. The light is super. The sky, again, is really, really strong. I suppose what I'm going to ask myself is, you look at the quality and the standard of the images in this competition tonight, and I ask myself, does this one quite stack up as a picture which would score well against the very best we have here tonight, if they were in, let's say, any sort of a national exhibition? And this is one that I think would just fall short. The quality's good, the lighting's good, but it doesn't quite have that that same impact as some of the other images here tonight. So it scores 15. Ah, the Eurasian teal. We've been looking for this.
Elusive it was.
But it was worth waiting for, wasn't it? Yes, okay. Whereas the starlings take a bit of getting, this doesn't move very fast, does it, from what I seem to remember? So your chance of getting the picture sharp are a lot easier. Having said that, it's still got to be photographed well, and it has been photographed well. The lighting is good. It's quite a bright day, and yet we've retained the detail in all the feathers, the wing feathers, and that lovely colourful head, and that light in the eye. So the Eurasian teal is very, very competently photographed. Again, does it quite have that impact that some of the other ones have? Maybe not, but the quality's there. I'm going to give it 16. So we've got something now which goes that one stage further, and we have got this duet of the swans, which has been, to use the technical term, mucked about with. It's I think it does work, because I do like the way that everything's been softened down. It's got this very dreamy effect. The only thing that just concerns me is the eyes of the swans, those two really white eyes, which just don't quite look somehow right. But I do think that the treatment has added something to it, but there's just something there which doesn't quite come off for me. and I'm going to score that one at 17. Well, we can all say "oh," can't we? Because it's that sort of a picture, isn't it? That you look at the little ugly duckling, isn't it? And I love the little drip of water on the end of the beak. That rim lighting around it just shows off those gorgeous downy coat that the young cygnet has got riding on the swan's back. It's a very appealing picture, but it is a quality picture, and it's one of those where it does immediately grab you, shall we say. And for that reason, that's going to score slightly higher. That for me is an 18. When this went through on the run through, I was slightly puzzled because I'd missed the hand coming up on near the bow of the boat, which it looks yes, strange, shall we say. It's not for me to say that we've got an RNNI boat maybe on a training thing, and then we've got the boat in the harbour, because they wouldn't have that in the harbour, does it? So I'm not sure what I'm presuming are the two pictures that have been put into this composite actually hang together really well. I love the sky, and the birds, which either were there or whether they weren't and been put in later, it doesn't matter. I think they also work. I like the way that the monochrome has been controlled, so we've got the tones that sort of recede into the background, and obviously we've got more light and brightness on the RNLI guy who's reaching for the hand there. So there's a lot of thought gone into it. And it's technically pretty good, and I can see that catching a few judges' eyes. I'm going to score it at 17. The great, I mean, we've got a double whammy here, haven't we? Not only have we got the great crested grebe with the two chicks on its back, but of course we've got the parent bird with the fish as well. So you've got everything that you need somehow there, and because we're just slightly above, we're not exactly at water level, then we've got the water, that green water, acting as a pretty good background to the image. I know one has to be extremely careful about saying you should do this and you should do that with nature, because of course we can't fiddle around with it too much. If it's in an open section, as it is tonight, then I dare say you could actually maybe just have brightened up just certain areas around the head of the bird, as long as you don't stick it into a nature section and do the same thing, because of course that then isn't allowed. But nevertheless, it's sharp. I think it's captured, a piece of nature photography very well, and I'm going to score that one also at 18. I love red kite. We see them obviously around Harewood when we're around that way, and everyone seems to go down to Giggling in Wales to try and photograph them there. And capturing them in flight is a type not as easy as you may think. This one has been really well done. I mean, it's sharp from wingtip through to wingtip. We've got the sharpness in the beak and the eye and the tail. So everything on the detail on that bird is really excellent. I think the exposure's good, and the background is soft, diffused, and is a nice foil to the bird. I'm going to hang on to that one just for a quick second look at it, please. We see a lot of these at goths and steampunk events, and this young lady I think is really well dressed. I love the colour on the jacket, and yeah, I like the way that it sort of suits the background. You know, whether she's been put against that background later, or whether the background has been chosen and then the slightly pinks have been added to give that bit of colour harmony with the jacket, I don't know, but it does hang together extremely well. Again, there's an intensity and a sharpness about her eyes, which I like. I also like the way that the sky on that top left has been handled. It would have been easy to have left that too bright, and clearly it's been well worked on to darken it down and give that extra bit of drama there. So I think that's been extremely well done. I'm going to have a second look at that one also, please. One day, I dare say too much, it will show my age, when we used to see so much record photography in competitions, and we do see less of it these days. And I think it's because it is far more difficult. You know, we go into a church and we put the camera on a tripod and we take a picture. But, you know, you try not only to conform to the, well, rules is a word I don't like, but, you know, the rules of keeping verticals vertical, etc. Here, you've got all sorts of problem with lighting. The light fixture on that, above the statues on that left-hand side, really is quite bright. And obviously the light fittings as we go through that vaulted ceiling area are also fairly bright. It's one of these pictures which I think it's the devil's own job to really expose it so you have got an evenness about it. The quality of the image from a point of view of it being sharp, I can't argue with. Also, you've got the viewpoint which leads us way through through the vaulted ceiling area, but it's one of these where you're really going to struggle with that lighting to get an evenness about it, and for that reason it scores 15. The wren, beautifully sharp around the eye, and on the insect, of course, that it's caught. I like the way that it's at an angle on this branch. There's a lot of bokeh around with the lighting there, which actually gives it more of a pictorial feel than a nature feel, if you see what I'm getting at. Also, from a nature point of view, we've got the breast of the bird. It would have been nice to just see a little bit more towards the side of the bird. What we've got, I think, is good, but there are certain aspects of it, as I say, the circles of bright light which just tend to worry me a little bit. So it will drop a mark or two for that, but it's still going to get 17. The golden hour. We've just spent a few weeks in Lanzarote, and I was up one or two mornings, not all that many, but one or two, early enough to try and get that time when the sun hasn't come up, which is when you're going to get pictures like this, whether it's just after the sun's gone down or whether it's just coming up and you haven't got that bright sun in the sky, but you've got this wonderful colour. And I like the way that we've included these rocks in the foreground, and because we've used an exposure just long enough to start to put a bit of movement and blur the water slightly, we've got a slightly circular feel to that as well. I like the crop. I think we've enough sky in that picture. If any more than that, then you lose the colour. And so I think to bring it down to where it is, I think is quite good. A lot of depth of field in it. The rocks are sharp, right through to the distant landmass there. Colour's lovely. Again, it's a question of how it compares with some of the images here tonight, and it's going to score 16. The stag in the mist. Well, let's state the obvious. I think the animal itself is beautifully photographed. It's sharp. I love the way that the light's catching the antlers. I like the way that it's just over just to the left of the tree. It frames it extremely well, and the softness about this early morning light is lovely. There's a lot of atmosphere in the picture. Why do we have the two sheep in the top? You know, once we get above the antlers, we've got a hedge. I know you're going to crop into the tree, but you're cropping into the tree anyway in the format it's at. So that for me is the natural top of this image. Once we get two out of focus sheep and out of focus wall, it adds nothing to the image. It just dilutes what we want to be looking at. So it needs to come off to there, and I think it would be a stronger image, and that loses it some marks, unfortunately. So I'm going to score that. Because of the stag, it's still going to get 16, but I think a crop would have got it higher mark than that. The dark hedges. Never have got to this part of Ireland to try and photograph the dark hedges. And I'm sure, like a lot of photographers and people who look at photographs and judge photographs, you see so many photographs of these. And this one, I would question the camera angle. I do feel that the ones that I've seen which really work is if we'd have sort of taken several paces to the left and you're shooting maybe straight down the road. Excuse me. And then the hedges themselves have a certain amount of symmetry about them, and they form this natural archway which you then look through. The person looks to be on a bike, I'm not sure, you know, would then be, I think, stronger in the frame. Where I think this falls down is by photographing from this angle. We include this triangle of light on that left-hand side. You can't crop the image off at that because then it doesn't balance. So it was at the taking stage where I do feel you needed to move round more to the left and shoot more down the avenue of the hedges, because that bright highlight there for me spoils the picture, and that's why it's only going to get 15. Sorry, a bit more editing for Mike. We've just seen one of these, which which was the Laxey one, and here we've got another dramatic wave coming in. Look like it's going to sweep the tower away almost. I just feel that. Oh dear, sorry. I just feel that we've got two very large elements in the picture. We've got the tower, which is very large within the frame, and then we've got this huge wave, and they tend rather to fight with each other. With the previous picture, because we got more of the sea wall, because we got more sea in the foreground, I felt that the balance on the composure of that picture, for me, was a lot stronger. I don't deny that this shows the power of the sea, and the other one also did, but I just feel that the other one compositionally was stronger, and therefore this one is going to score 15. It's typically Gainsborough, isn't it? and very well put together. Lovely, lovely dress, lovely young lady. The hat, the flowers, everything is right about it. The background also, the backdrop she's been stood against adds that Gainsborough feel to it. I like the way that we've sort of included so much of her, rather than just cropping it off by where the cuffs finish. I like the way we've included more of the dress. It means we slightly shoot slightly up at her, but I think she's got a lovely expression on the face. The lighting is well handled. I'll have another look at that one, please. This one has got a lot of drama to it. You don't need me to tell you that. I love the way that the striations of light coming out of that cloud. Again, whether that was actually genuinely there, whether it was some of it was then it's been enhanced, I'm not going to speculate. I'm just going to judge what I see there. And what I see there is a picture which colour-wise works for me, with the hull of the boat in blue, and then the rusty browny bits that also have a colour harmony with the foreground and the sand, and it's in a good strong position in the frame. I think there are others tonight which are maybe stronger, but having said that, I'm going to give that one 17. Never been to Cardiff. I keep saying we must go because I keep being told just what they've done to it, and it's certainly a place to visit. For a night shot, I think this has been taken at the right time when there's that bit of ambient light in the sky, and therefore it's just not totally black. I think this is the right time to take it. I think that works well. I think the exposure is good. It's not that long, therefore, that we're going to get massive flare from the brighter lights. I think that's been controlled extremely well. I like the way it's been cropped to this letterbox, and overall, I think it's a good picture that shows Cardiff Bay at night. Is it going to be one of the top scorers in a competition like this? No, I don't think it is. I think you look at that and you take it for what it is, a very competent photograph, but maybe not one that's going to fight for the top awards tonight. But the lighting's been well handled, and I'm going to give it 16. I'm glad the title went off because I don't have to try and pronounce it now.
What's your name supplied?
If you're going to do something like this, it's one of those subjects you've got to do well, and this has been done well. Placing against the black background with that strong light brings out the texture and the colour beautifully. I like the strong blues and greens on the plant itself, and I think that's been good. I like the way we just that little white keystroke round. I think just holds the frame in. I'll have another look at that one, please. I do quite a bit of cricket. The local team lets me go down there and have an hour or two with them, and I keep trying to get this sort of stuff. I was at Bury last week showing some pictures, and I explained how I sat there and shot at 10 frames a second all afternoon waiting for a wicket to fall, and the openers put on 146, which didn't really help me a lot. But here we've got this chap trying to turn the ball to leg, yet it's gone through. Whether it's bowled him, whether he's stumped, whether he, but we've got that peak of the action. We've got the bails flying. The ball is in the wicketkeeper's glove, so it looks like he may have whipped the bails off because the chap's got his back leg out of his ground, so I presume he's trying to get him stumped. So the action's there. The quality is not bad. There is quite a bit of digital noise and artifacts as we look straight through the centre. This is more than likely, I'd hazard a guess that maybe we've had to crop fairly tightly into a smaller part of the digital file to pull this piece up, and it just starts to degrade it slightly, which I think just loses it a mark or two. Oh. Well, I could sit here and say I don't do dogs. I don't really do dogs, but I do good photography. I would have thought when anyone says, well, I take a photograph of a dog, I think it's bad enough if they ask me to photograph one. But to get the attention of two, would the one on the left mind just putting your tongue out? But no, the one on the right, will you not put your tongue out? It will look better for the composition. I tell you what, you trained them really well. And I think it makes a really, you know, if you were a professional dog photographer, you might be for all I know, and someone said, come and photograph my two, and you took them this picture, they ought to be so pleased because it's a lovely image, and I'll have another look at it, please. Dramatic, peak of the action. We see a lot of this sort of stuff in competition. Usually, maybe part of it not sharp, but here, that left-hand wingtip, absolutely beautifully sharp, and the other one is fairly close to being pin sharp. The head of the bird is the claws, talons with the fish, and then the water spraying out. You couldn't want much more of that, could you really? So I'll hold that one back as well. I'm not going to suggest the birds weren't there. We've got over the last 15 years of more people mucking around with digital pictures, we've got really suspicious, haven't we? You know, what you should be saying is, does the picture work? And yes, it works. It's got this Alfred Hitchcock feel to it. How is it quality-wise? That's where I think this one tends to fall down a bit. If you're going to photograph the sky, I love to see the detail in the sky. And there's detail probably in about 80% of that sky. But when you start to look at that white piece of cloud, that white highlight at the right-hand side of the frame, we've lost all detail. If it had been a print, we'd say it was at base paper white, wouldn't we? It shows a bit of evidence of them trying to maybe darken it a tad, but I don't really think it's come off. And then we've got this half a figure poking out of this bit of gravelly, shingly stuff. And a shot there. I mean, you know, we don't need them there, really. It would be not a difficult job to clone them out, and I don't think they add anything to the picture. You know, if you're suggesting they're throwing food up for the bird, well, okay, but no, it's just a dark mass, and I think the picture would do better without it. So overall, it's a picture with a good idea. I don't think it's technically really come off for me, and I do feel that cloud there doesn't work. So I'm afraid that one's going to be 13. As you're judging, like myself and one or two other people in this room do national and international competitions, you see images of this type where you don't believe for a moment that the Ice Maiden is stood on the ice, but can it be made that? Do you think we can have a break in a moment or two? So
Yes,
sorry, I really am sorry.
don't
That's
worry.
all right. Good bottomless water.
Let's do this one and then we'll have a break.
But the old adage of "can you see the join?" Well, you can't, can you? I mean, I admire work of this style when it is done to this standard. The choice of sky is fabulous. Then you put the large moon in as well, and then we've got the foreground with the snow and the ice over the rocks. The lighting on the model It's lovely. It ties in with everything else. We've got that brightness around it. It looks as though she's in a pool of light naturally. Look, I'll have another look at it, please. I'm sorry.
Do you want to take a break now, Andrew? Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Just take a 5-minute break.
Sorry.
Don't worry.
As the voice is starting to struggle, I'm told I can shorten the comments a bit, so if anyone has got to short-change with some comments in the second half, if I have to just leave it a bit. So that one I'm holding back.
Right. Holding that one. Super. Moving on.
When this came up the first time, I thought I really like this. It's a simple chrysanthemum head, but it's beautifully photographed. I think the detail in that is superb. The delicacy of the flower head has been shown beautifully. It's not overlit, and yet there's enough light to show all the detail there. I like the way it's been put together, and I'm going to score that at 18.
18.
Again, a picture which the light is lovely. It shows those lovely drops of the dew on the pussy willow against that neutral background. It's all about getting it sharp and getting the lighting right, and I think that works also. Again, it's against some strong stuff tonight, but I'm still going to give it 17.
17. In Mars sunset.
Oh, wouldn't I just like to be there? That is absolutely fabulous, isn't it? It's just really, you know, the lighting is just superb. You know, whether this chap fishing is there because he's fishing, or whether he's actually paid to go and sit there so the photographers can get him in front of the sunset, I don't know. But hey, you know, it's the sort of thing that you see in international competition. You think, I can't get that. That's a shame, isn't it? When I first saw it, I just wondered whether if it had been mine, would I have had so much at the base underneath the boat? You know, and the more I look at it, I mean, clearly I'm not going to take it too far, but about half the distance from the bottom of the frame, I just think it would balance better if we just lost a little bit of that. I don't think it's all necessary. It's very much a personal choice. We'll hold on to that one, please. Yes, stood there and looked at this. It's a good use of a long exposure to. You've got the Vaporettos and the other boats going up and down the Grand Canal, and the way that the curved light they work well. At the time of day when you've got a bit of light in the sky, yet again we've got no flare from the other lights. Overall, I'd have just liked to think that little bit more saturation in it. I don't mean way overdo it, but it's just a little pale. I just feel I'd have loved to see just that a tad more colour introduced in that. Not an awful lot, maybe a bit of vibrance. 17.
17.
Right. Is it a rat? Is it a water vole? Because Ratty was a water vole, wasn't he? Beautifully photographed. Lovely detail. Sharp. Again, I'd have taken some of that bottom off. You know, once we get much below the reflection of its little hands there in the water, I think I'd have been tempted to crop in tighter, because it's amongst those reeds, but to be honest, I feel a tighter crop would have given that more impact. The more you have around it, it dilutes slightly the animal itself. And that's another 18.
18. real pier, St Anne's?
It's a bit like my comments about what I thought was the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a strong compositional structure. The lighting is extremely strong. I love the sky. I like the position of the horizon. I think that works okay. It's a quality piece of photography from what we've got. What I've got to ask myself is, how does it compare with some of the very best we've got here tonight? And that's where I feel it falls down. It's what it's up against, not what it is as an individual image. As an individual image, I'm going to give it 16 because of the stuff it's against tonight.
Right. Goldfinch.
Yeah, Barbara and I always like to watch these on the feeders. Whereas if you look through the kitchen window, the other birds look at you and fly away. The goldfinches look at you and sort of, you can almost see, do you mind, we're having breakfast? You know, they're not bothered. And this one, yeah, I hate this bird on a stick thing. You've still got to get it sharp. You've still got to get it so the lighting's good. You've got detail in those lighter breast feathers which you've got, and you've got the catchlight in the eye. I'm not sure I would have had so much on that left-hand side of the frame, but it's another 18. Lovely movement in this with the dress and the ribbon, and then we've got with the way it's been taken to give us these various overlapping images of the dancer. It's a picture which has got a lot of thought gone into it, and I like the way if you take the second face, if you like, the one that's in the middle, that again, is surrounded by the ribbon. Yeah, I'll have another look at that one, please.
That one. Quarry Falls, Laxley.
Well, if I was there and I wanted to take a picture of the falls, and I came away with this for my holiday picture of the falls at Laxley, I would be very happy. I like the choice of shutter speed. I think it's just put enough movement in that water. Whether we've attacked the greens a bit or whether because of the location they are that really intense green, it doesn't matter. I think they work well. Again, it's along some strong competition here tonight. The quality of the picture is really good. And it's going to score 17. Oh dear, there's always one, isn't there? Oh gosh. Yes. I'm pretty sure this is not a straight shot. Yeah, something tells me this one's been, fiddled and diddled. I know, I've been doing this for 6 weeks, But again, it's been beautifully put together. It's the little touches which make you smile. The black and white cat on the left, looking up in the air, and the fish, of course, jumping there where he's looking. There's a lot of thought. It's not just been banged together. It's a lot of thought gone into how it has been achieved. I love the suitcases. I love the flag. Sky again, really well done. Yeah, I like it. I'm going to have another look at it so I can just make sure I give it the right mark.
Flag plays because it's Brexit tomorrow.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that.
Just curious.
Osprey with fish.
Another osprey. We've had something very similar. And again, we have got the fish, we've got the action, we've got the drama, we've got the head of the bird sharp, a slightly more unusual angle with the bird sort of 3/4 coming towards you. In certain circles, it would be marked down because, of course, a lot of nature people are really keen on seeing everything sharp, and once the wingtips start to lose it a bit, they tend to mark it down. I'm going to give it 18 tonight.
Grasmere, Daffodil Hotel.
Beautiful light. The sky's been really well handled. Whether we've done some work on that, I don't know, but if we have, it's great. I like the light on the fells on the left hand side, the way the light's almost sort of kissing the fells on the right. That's lovely. Personally, I would have taken quite a bit of the bottom off, because the interest for me is the sky, the fells, and those rich reflections on that right hand side. There are a bit on the left, but the ones on the right, and once we start to get this big V of light tone in the foreground, that for me doesn't quite balance with it. So I would have cropped that off, certainly. 16. Yes, she doesn't look very happy, does she?
She's a flower girl. You're not supposed to look at it.
Don't flower girls look happy?
No, they hate the job.
Isn't anyone spying the flowers? Is that the thing? Ah. We've got the pink dress, the pink head thingy bob, fascinator or whatever it is. Am I right, lady? The fascinator, and then the pink flowers. So it's pink. We place it towards the right hand side of the frame. Okay, but there is an awful lot of space round her, and whilst I'm not going to suggest cropping it completely tightly, I do feel that I'd have gone for a tighter crop than that. It makes her face so small within the overall picture, and it just looks, it does look very static and very posed from that point of view. 15. Well, okay, we've got a young lady here using a parasol as a background, which is always a good idea. Then we've got the handle coming down from underneath her hair on that right hand side. Lovely eyes, lovely smile, maybe a little bit bright lights on the cheeks and just on the nose. So it's a good picture without, for me, being really outstanding. And I'm going to score it at 16. I think the right thing here to do is to include the snow and ice in the foreground. I mean, that obviously is needed to give you this strong base to the picture. And then we've got the texture in the water, and then we've got the ice flows and the mountainous region in the background. I wouldn't, again, I would be tempted to take the sky away here. Once we go above the mountains, if you like, then we've got that band of cloud. Once we get much above that, I don't see the necessity for that amount of sky. I think the information in the image would be handled better if that was missing. 16. Go. Lovely photograph of the nuthatch. I had to learn early on that nuthatches come down and tree creepers go up. Otherwise you get them totally confused, don't you? But it's a typical pose for a nuthatch. It really is. The detail is there. It's a pity we've got so many of those bright highlights in the background. There's some lovely warmer tones in the background. And I know judges, we always want the impossible, don't we? But once you get those other lighter tones, it's just a bit of a shame. But having said that, again, I think I wouldn't have had quite so much at the base. I might have just cropped it just a wee bit tighter. But it's a very good picture of a nuthatch. 18. Fabulous. The lighting here has been handled absolutely exquisitely. Again, just a little bit of ambient light in the sky, just that little bit, to put some there. All the detail is beautifully rendered, and then the posts in the water here just form such a terrific base and lead in. I'll have another look at it, please. Yeah, this one also is fabulous. The detail here is really, really, really good, and the way we've got the reflections of these sort of ants in the water drinking. Yeah, again, I know I'm making work of myself, but I'll have another look at it, please. Yeah, I've done a bit of this, and they can be no, just photographing it. No, I'm not quite that adventurous, and it's one of these things. It's difficult to try and get it so right. I mean, it's just little things. The first thing I see is on that left-hand side of the frame. There's a real bright highlight of something there. You know, I'd have certainly cropped that out. Because it just annoys me. And then after that, I think you start looking around to say, you've got to, because it's one of these, it's a dull day, but you've got the brightness of the water, and therefore I would want to actually do a bit of what in the darkroom we'd call dodging of the actually jet ski itself, just to bring a bit more detail. I think it brightens up just that little bit. You can't do much more with the water. It's a good shot, but not one of the real strongest tonight. But I'm still going to give it 17 because it captured the action really well.
A chance encounter.
Don't believe it. No. Oh, you do. Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Every day.
Yeah. See these bears in Bury all the time, don't you? Yes. Okay. Again, we look to see how well it's been put together, and it has been put together really well. I love the way that we've got all this forest of trees, but they're softened down, so they form a lovely soft backdrop to this young girl in the bright red dress, who's about to make friends with this bear. A bit of a vignette being added. Yeah, I think it's a really good effort. There are others I prefer tonight, but I'm not going to question the fact it's been really well done. 18.
African buffalo.
This one, how it was achieved, I don't know. Clearly, we've got a bright light source coming in from the left, which illuminates these butterflies. No, maybe not. these buffalo at night, and gives us these reflections. 18.
Strange butterflies in York.
We've got some strange stuff in Yorkshire. It's a Donny butterfly there. I think panning bike shots is a lot more difficult. For starters, you're trying to pan it, but you're still trying to get a bit of movement into the wheels, which we've just about got here. We're trying to get some sharpness into the fairing on the bike. We can read the detail, yeah. And of course, because we've got the crash barriers, you've always got these, these streaks in the background, which it's a question of where you stand to try and do it. Yes, we've done the usual of trying to make sure we put a bit more room on that right-hand side, but it's still a bit tight in the frame. I'm going to score that one at 16.
60. Swan work.
I like this one. We've got fairly low down to the water here, so we've got a good perspective on the shot. We've accepted the fact that we're going for a semi-silhouette on the swan, and then we've just got this soft light with the mist on the water. Obviously, the bird's in that strong position within the frame. There's odd little things. The right hand side, we've got the bushy tree things. Then we've got a post that sticks up and a piece of cloud that comes down and points to say, oh, look, there's a post here, it shouldn't be here. You know, I need cropping off, which it does, you know, because the sky that makes this V is a good finish for that picture. We don't need that extra little bit. And then you've got to decide whether you feel you want to take a bit off the base as well. Good effort. I don't think it's come off for me, 16.
Cathedral de Montreal.
Something, yeah.
Something like that. Church somewhere.
You know, I've already said about record photography, we don't see a huge amount of it, but this has been really well done. You know, let's be honest that it's got beautiful detail everywhere. We've held the shadow detail in, we've held the highlights in. It's been technically well handled. I'm going to shock you. I'm going to go straight in and say 19.
Lapwing at rest.
The colours on the lapwing never cease to amaze me. Just, you know, what a wonderful, you know, palette of colours are on those wing feathers there. The detail is wonderful. Catch light in the eye. How many people want to get rid of those white daisies? Do you know, you just want to go and say to the excuse me, just pick these daisies, will you, so I can get them out of the way. You know, can't do much with it, but we're not allowed to do, are we? But it's a great shame they're there. 18.
Oh, there we go. 18. Right. Cuckoo with drum.
Yeah, I see quite a few of these. When I looked at this, again, my concern was, I mean, it's a typical cuckoo pose, got the grub, you know, I could hazard a guess as to one or two places it could have been taken. It just seems to be lacking that quality. You know, it's sharp, but again, there's a bit of something there, whether it's a bit of digital noise, you know, and again, whether it's because we've had to enlarge the file to make it as big as that. It's a bit big in the frame, if anything. It doesn't have to be that big. You know, it's way bigger than life size. So I'd have been tempted not to have it as big as that and try and keep more quality in the picture. 15.
Edmund Point.
Nice piece of monochrome work. It obeys all the rules, if you like. We've got some decent foreground leading to a strong subject. You know, nicely on the left-hand third, and we've got some detail in the sky, and it's a good monochrome conversion. 17.
Reach for the top.
Oh yes. Lovely detail on the little creature here. The background is nicely out of focus. I don't know much more I can say about that one. 17.
The saddle of Saddleworth.
Yeah, I just wish I was there at this time of the day when you've got light and mist like that. There's so much atmosphere. It's lovely, and I like the warm tones here, going away to the cooler tones as it recedes. The more I look at that, I don't need the sky. I don't need the sky. Once we get just below that last row of hills, I think for me that is the top of the picture. I don't think we can just trim it back a bit. I think the lighting's great, but I'm not so keen on that top of it of the sky. 17.
Tally-ho!
Yeah, sharp, captured the action of the horse and rider. It's a day when you've got a quite a dark sky, and yet we've got a lot of brightness on the rider itself, themselves. 16.
Causeway Shelter, Lindisfarne.
We had a trip there in our camera club some years ago, and we all managed to get back across the causeway just before the tide came in, and then one of our party realised they'd left their tripod, which they did not see again. This is a slightly awkward one. I think these things photograph better when they're not so large in the frame and you've got more of a lead in with the causeway. And because we've got such a fabulous sky, I think I'd have liked to have seen more of it. It places the building reasonably centrally, and the composition just jars with me slightly, and for that reason it's going to lose a few marks. 16.
Blue tick gathering nesting materials.
Yeah, that's lovely. Cracking detail on the blue tit. Engaged in doing what we say, gathering the nesting materials. It tells a story. It's got that little bit of extra something which we're looking for in nature photography these days, where the bird is actually engaged in doing something, and I think that works well. I'll have another look at that one, please. Natasha Bella. Stunning model. And photographed actually in a different way from the way I've seen her on many occasions, with the flower headpiece, lovely eyes, lovely makeup. It's a super portrait. I'll hang on to that one also.
11.
Yeah, more of a high key approach. And I think that's absolutely, well, I like the way that the hair, it just frames her face. And the lighting on her face, I think, is really, really nice. This is personal. I'm not a great lover of nose studs. So nose studs get the spot healing brush treatment, I'm afraid, in my photographs. But nevertheless, it's just, it's something which you tend to look at. 17.
The going down of the sun.
So, you tend to see a lot of these reenactment things, don't they? With strong light. And we've got the guy in the, probably the correct flying gear for the era there. The light's lovely. I just find it's cropped so tightly, and I just feel that the ones I see of these which work better, we've cropped into the tailplane, we've cropped into the rocket out bits there, and I just think that I'd have liked to have stepped back and made more of the plane as well. 15.
Joker in New York.
Yeah, I wondered whether when Mr. Curry would turn up. Yeah, one of our members has got something very similar. I mean, you can't say other than that they are extremely well done. I mean, his characters are fabulous, and the idea of sticking the Joker card to the glass also works well. Lighting good. It's a picture's got a lot of impact. It's going to get you in a national exhibition, probably hitting the 4 button anyway. So you probably get in with most of these sort of things. 19.
Three little hours.
Fledglings there, just wondering whether it's safe to go out or not. The bonus is having the 3. I think the tight crop for me works because it just features the eyes on the bird, and it just makes the composition work. 18.
Fish fight.
Oh yes, yes. So we've all been to Bridlington then, and we've got on the boat. We've gone round Flamborough Head, get buffeted around, and then they throw the chummings out, and about 10,000 of these, and you're trying to find two you can focus on. This is so difficult. You know, I know it's set up for you, but I've been. You know, I've
You
been.
came back with your camera?
I came back with the camera, yes.
All right
I
then.
didn't come back with many pictures, I have to say. If I'd have come back with this one, I would have been very happy. Because I have to say, it's better than anything I got on the day. And for that reason, it's going to get 18.
18. Sparrowhawk with prey.
Poor little goldfinch, look at that. I'll have a quick look at him again, please.
Polo.
You know, I thought it was Mike on that horse just for a second when I didn't I play polo?
Not very well.
No, I've done a fair amount of this.
As well.
No, only
Version,
absolutely. Only from a point of view of trying to photograph it. And it's not an easy thing to photograph because, you know, the horses sort of overlap each other and you get bits of people and people go and watch it. And when they watch it, they're in the background, and you know, and trying to find a fairly plain background is extremely difficult. It's a reasonable attempt, but I've seen some really good polo stuff, and this I don't think just matches up to it. 15.
15. Yeah. Mountain biker.
This is one we've been looking for, is it?
No,
That's-
no, we found that. We've had it.
Oh right, I thought you said 75, and there was 75. This should be the last one.
This is
This is what a friend of mine used to say. It's the one the cobbler threw at his wife. The last.
the last.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh dear. Sorry. So.
I'll blame the cop merchant. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
I think the photographer here was on a hiding to nothing because what have we got? I mean, you take the highlight exposure and you take the shadow exposure, and it's such a wide fluctuating range. You're really struggling, aren't you? You've got the bike coming out of an area which is burnt out of detail because it's so bright, and yet we're trying to retain detail in the warmer tones. Very, very difficult. I'm not sure you could have done much more with this, but it really has struggled for me. 14.
14. And you've got 18
Okay,
images.
right, don't worry, we're not going to take long over them. You'll be glad to know.
Right, let's have a look, see what we've got.
Can we just quickly run, or put them in, whatever you want to do.
Come on, Fiona, you can have a quick look through and then we'll do whatever you want with them.
Yeah. Okay,
How
Yep,
you want to progress?
I'm happy. But just start. Is it okay? Okay. I think the two starlings have been really well done. It seems cruel to say that we've just not quite got the wings biting sharp because I mean it's so difficult. But I think it's a really cracking action shot. 19.
19.
The lace wing has been beautifully done. 19 again. The storm, looking at it now, I think I'd have been tempted to take a bit off the foreground. What I do like is that lovely green wave coming over the sea wall, and then the green in the sea there, and then we just tend to get softened as we come down here. 18. 19. 20.
Ooh. 20. We always think it's more than 20. Being it's got a 20, do you want them to see whose it is? Yeah, yeah. Christine.
Oh. 19. 19. 20.
Nice.
19. 21.
Ready? Oh, let me do the one. 20.
Oh dear.
Yes, I know.
Oh.
Mine, mouse,
19. I do like this. I'm trying to find a reason to lose a mark. 20.
20. Wendy's.
19. I think that is handled that so well. You know, for that sort of picture, you know, quite often you think, well, it's, you know, it's an I was there picture, but that is so much more than that.
Twenty.
20.
Oh, that's bronze. Blue tip. Very nesting material.
20.
And that's young Eddie's.
20.
Christine's.
I can see why you're giving that second glass of water, Christine. Just to make sure I survive to mark these.
Yeah. Oh, it's a double gin in it that sort of helps.
I just wish it was a bit more space around it. 90.
Right. That's all of them. Do you want to pick your best in your favourite? Your whatever you like.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trouble is, I now know whose it is.
That's all right.
It's the Ice Maiden.
Ice Maiden.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Ice Maiden. Yes. Okay. I ain't going to be able to find that. There we
You know,
go.
when you get to that part of a competition, you look at all the last ones, and then you realise you don't like any of them. That's when you're in trouble, isn't it? But tonight, I was confident that I was happy. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, okay, I now know it's yours, Christy. I think it's wonderful. You know, I must come around for a lesson sometime as to how on earth you get them looking so absolutely so stunning as that.
She was standing on the ice.
Really? Yeah. Fancy. I'd never thought of. That's the one thing I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, okay, now living room.
The lengths you go to get a good shot. Freeze your living room. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Can someone give us some light?
And can I just apologise again about me getting this sitting throaty cough in the last 2 days?
Right. Do you want to know the scores? Scores on the doors. Ready. Remarks. Get set. Right. Well, a lot of 20s there. So we've got 4, 5, 5. 4, 2, 5. And 4, 0, 8. Wow. Close, very close. Only a mark or two in it.
That was a very hotly contested contest. And thank you for all for turning up. Congratulations to Oldham. Well done to the other two clubs, to Rochdale, and thank you for coming to see the images with us, and to the Isle of Man. Well done, Christine. Judge's choice. Thank you for your patience at the beginning while we got our technical issues resolved. So that's much appreciated. You got 2 brews out of it as well. And I think we need to give a big thank you to Ray. Some very insightful comments. I think the judging and the marks were good, and got 20. But he suffers through, even with the cough, and managed to get to the end, and not too late either. So seeing as we had quite a late start, so a big thank you to Ray. Okay, and if I can remind you all not to post onto Facebook so that Isle of Man don't find out. We don't normally do that, do we? Yeah, try and keep them guessing for a while. Okay, well, thank you all very much. Have a safe journey home, and I will see you all next week. Oh, and for Oldham, we've got a studio shoot next week here, so bring your cameras. Okay, thank you all very much.